previous 2 weeks. You know, it's a crazy place. Anyway, I don't want to hog all the thing going on, so I suppose we'll just move on.
Have we got any questions, any takers for first couple of questions we can get the lads? Hang on a sec.
Cheers, mate. I've never really done much fishing in winter. What do you do in general in winter as opposed to summer?
Who do you want to answer that?
Well, I've found myself that, I mean, down Sandhurst, the maggots seem to work really well, you know, because obviously, like, you've got the roach and that seems to die off a little bit, so you know you can get away with using that sort of tactics. Apart from that, I just scale down and use like smaller hooks, lighter hook material, that sort of thing. No, not loads. No. Oh, saying about how many maggots to take with us. I mean, down Sandhurst, I found that, I mean, if you go down with like a gallon of maggots, you spot out a gallon of maggots and you catch quite a few fish, like sort of 20s and that bit. It seemed really obvious, like down there, that just one PVA bag of maggots are just randomly chucked at where you've seen fish seems to sort out the bigger ones. So this, you know, the last year and this year, that's what I intend to do. Not use so much bait. It's just a case of like a small trap and a little mouthful for them to pick up. Obviously, like in the winter, they're not eating like they do in the summer. I think they tend to have like smaller feeding spells. Like, you know, they still feed like quite alright. Like, you know, but the feeding times are a lot shorter and a lot farther apart. So like that's, you know, why you end up being there a long time and not catching a lot most of the time. But I found that if you're just using like PVA bags and small traps and that's enough for a bite.
Can I just ask you a question? Do you use a maggot liner or do you use 20 on the rig or whatever? What sort of when you're using maggots?
Well, I've been just tying like 4 or 5 maggots onto a ring on the back of a D rig, like, you know, but without a maggot liner on, to be honest. But although, you know, the maggot liners do work well, you know, but I've found that, you know, it's not that detrimental. I just tend to use a small hook, you know, size 10. It's because you can get away with it. There ain't no weed in Sandhurst, so you know you're alright to play them wherever. So it definitely helps cut down on size of hooks, I think.
I think you're asking about winter fishing and what do we do to get bites, or what the panel do, or what other anglers do to get bites during the winter. I think a lot of the time the magazines, some of the features which appear in the magazines are actually confusing, or they're not helping the matter, because as soon as the water temperature gets cold, they're automatically telling you to do this, do that, do the other. But basically, if you're on the water and you're catching, just because the water temperature starts to drop or you get those first few frosts, if you are still catching using bloody great double 20mm baits, just because so-and-so tells you to start putting out a maggot or a little 5mm bait, I'll be right in saying if you're still catching on what you're doing, then I will continue to carry on doing what you're doing. And Frank and I, when we used to fish Welly during the winter months, that was a water like that where you could fish big baits and boilies all the way through the year, wasn't it? We didn't have to muck around small baits.
What about yourself, Gareth? Doesn't it? I think unfortunately the thing like with the maggots is you take somewhere like Sandhurst for an example. Come, I don't know, November, probably about now really, because it's been written about in the past and because it has worked so well, because the maggots are devastating, everyone starts heaving the maggots in. I've been down there before and people have got like these massive drums with like 4 gallon of maggot in or more, you know, and aside from it being an insane amount of money to go and buy all that maggot, it doesn't do the fish any good. And it just makes them practically impossible to catch on anything else. Like as soon as that amount of quantity of maggot starts going in, it just ruins it for everybody and everything. So I think what Martin was saying, just about using like little bags or a little patch here and there, I think is really valid. You certainly don't have to put loads of maggots in at all. I mean, I always look at the maggots as a last resort, really. If I absolutely can't get a bite on anything else, then I'll resort to maggots. But I don't really like using them. I don't really think they do the fish any good, and I think it makes them hard to catch. You know, if I can catch them on food, like you're saying, Tim, if I can catch them on boilie, if I can carry on putting the boilie in through the autumn. I mean, it all depends on the venue. You know, I think the kind of like, you know, the club lakes and the syndicates and things like that, where you've got people fishing regularly. The trouble with Sandy is obviously everyone goes down just for 2 nights. They might not fish it regularly, so they want to get a bite in that weekend, so they'll do whatever they can to get that bite because it's a one-off trip. Whereas if you're fishing a water and you can go there, you know, every week, and you can keep some boilie going in, you can keep it going through the winter, you know, so you can still keep feeding them and actually catch them on proper food. You don't necessarily have to go down that route. If I was going for a one-off trip somewhere, then it would just be things like a little patch of maggots maybe, or, you know, just little single.